Where's Wade?
Who are you people? Oh, wait a minute. All the bastardized actual Star Wars characters in this horrible show have impenetrable plot armor. So I guess somebody's got to die. Howdy, y'all. I'm Adam, the Renaissance Nerd, coming to you with my review of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Episode 4. This week, there'll be a little less outrage because in just 36 minutes, there wasn't really that much to get outraged over. No. This week, it's more about what the hell is even going on here, because a lot of this doesn't really make sense when you look at it closely. What am I talking about? What I'm talking about is behavior, poor editing for their eventual reasons for doing stuff or their eventual solutions for things, really bad storytelling. The bad storytelling continues, and simple fact of these people do not understand Star Wars or Star Wars lore, which, if you're watching this in current day real time, it was revealed this week that Joby Harold, the head writer for this abomination, doesn't even know anything about Star Wars, has never even watched the movies, didn't even know what happened in Revenge of the Sith, the background setting for most of the supposed content of this series. These people don't know Star Wars, and this episode is the perfect reflection that they don't know Star Wars, they don't understand Star Wars, and they all continue to fail at basic storytelling concepts. Understanding why characters should be doing things. Showing us a moment when something is supposed to have happened. And also the continuing basic failure of conceptualizing the passage of time. We're going to go over this all. We're going to just go through it. The episode, like I said, was only 36 minutes. Thank God. But it was still packed with bad. We're going to go through it, and we're going to stop along the way, and I'm going to point out all the problems. Because this show is one giant walking tardling, to be as delicate as I can. All right, let's get to it.
Ben, stay with me. You're gonna be okay.
We pick up exactly where we left off last week, where Vader had dragged Obi-Wan. Remember, he's Obi-Wan. We don't call him Obi-Wan because he's not Obi-Wan. He's Obi-Wan. Dragged Obi-Wan through fire, where literally while being surrounded by flames, Obi-Wan didn't actually catch on fire, only got some burns on his shoulder and arm. I know, physics, who cares? Meanwhile, at the same time, Leia finally got caught by somebody. all it took was Reva to catch her. Leia, the master dasher, who could waddle her way through crowds and around trees and shrubbery to avoid grown men, gets caught by Reva so easily and taken to Inquisitor Land. We're going to hear the name they came up with. It's that bad. It's so ridiculous. It's stupid. Like I said, we're light on the outrage this week. We're into the stupidly sublime at this point. It's so dumb. It's just dumb. Anyway, so here we are. Obi-Wan. It's hard sometimes. Give me a break. It's melting my brain. Obi-Wan arrives at this planet. Who cares where it is? Because they got there instantly. Remember, no concept of actual time, because Leia's also been instantly taken to wherever she's being held at Inquisitor Place. And he's let's get him into a Bacta tank. Okay, let's begin the they don't understand Star Wars litany. It's gonna last the whole review, guys. I'm sorry, it just is. Bacta treatment. When you go in a tank, you're in there for a few days. It takes a couple of days to heal it. It's not instantaneous. It's a treatment. First of all, again, why is his nose open? He will drown. You have a respirator in his mouth, but you haven't plugged up his nose. All you got to do is go look at Empire Strikes Back, the first time we see a Bacta tank treatment. Yes, Luke has a respirator in his mouth, but his nose is also completely closed up, so he doesn't drown. No, let's just dunk him in there again. We don't understand Star Wars. We showed you that in Boba Fett. We're showing it to you now in Obi-Wan. He should be drowning. No, instead he has a fever dream where suddenly he's maybe mentally connected to Vader floating in his own Bacta tank. Because again, Vader needs to continually be in a Bacta tank. It's been 10 years since he was scarred. He keeps needing to go in there, apparently. I don't know why. Reasons, we don't get Star Wars. In some weird little fever dream, and then suddenly his burns are healed, and he pulls himself up, but then Tala spywham and says, "No, you need more time to heal. No, I have to go save Leia, blah, 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 blah." Story moves forward. Leia. Now remember this. This conversation between Leia and Reva, it must be going on forever. Because every time we cut back to whatever Obi-Wan and Tala lady are doing and this ragtag bunch of who gives an F, they're still talking in the interrogation room. Wow, this must be going on for hours, because by the time we have Obi-Wan and his crew arrive at Inquisitor Place, it is ridiculous. It's just dumb. But here's a great example again of now, after Obi-Wan has recovered, he's got his clothes on, he got a fresh set of rags on. He's got a whole fresh set of rags. We get introduced to, I don't know who these people are, and I don't care who these people are. These are nobodies. As I said in my intro, these are people created to die. Because everybody of actual import in this show, actual Star Wars characters who have been transplanted into this alternate reality bad fan fiction, have plot armor. Indestructible plot armor. Obi-Wan, Leia, Vader cannot die, cannot suffer obvious damage that would leave them scarred or disfigured permanently, because A New Hope still exists, despite Disney's best efforts to twist and break the lore and the actual canon. So Obi-Wan goes and meets the head engineer in charge of all this stuff, I guess. I don't know who he is, I don't care who he is. I missed his name, because it doesn't matter, because he's not real. He's just there to show, oh, we don't want to fight. Oh, I had a wife who was a Jedi. Blah, blah, blah. I know what the Empire's like. Because Obi-Wan says this. This is how insanely stupid these people are with their own writing and their own conceptualization of not only logistics, but passage of time. Enjoy.
I can't lose her. You've no idea what the Empire is capable of.
Excuse me, how would you know how bad the Empire is? By this show's own chronology and quarter-assed storytelling, you've been in near complete isolation for 10 years, not even knowing that Darth Vader still exists. How would you know how bad the Empire is? Because when you left at the end of Revenge of the Sith, yeah, you saw the horrors at the Jedi Temple of Order 66. But that's all you saw. Since then, by Disney Star Wars canon, you've been in hiding in complete isolation. Oh, Obi-Wan here shouldn't have any clue how bad the Empire is. Where is his evidence? He's been literally out for, I don't know, a day by their stupid conception of the passage of time. He's been running around for maybe a day since he left Tatooine. I mean, come on. They don't understand anything. They write themselves into these stupid corners because they don't even understand their own crap they've written beforehand. Joby Harold is a moron who doesn't know anything about Star Wars and apparently doesn't even know anything about what has already been happening in his little bubble of bad fan fiction. Anywho, after that little conversation of, oh, then he convinces the guy, oh, I know how bad the Empire is, I'll help you. Our little band of nobodies joins Obi-Wan. I keep trying to do it. Obi-Wan at a holograph table where, and I kid you not, we learn that the Inquisitor, the moon, the water moon that they're on, is in the Mustafar system. Because again, this is Disney Star Wars. It's a tiny little galaxy where they're just going to have everything in the same places with names that they know you'll be familiar with because you're an actual Star Wars fan if you like it. And then the stands will just go, oh, look, Mustafar. I know Mustafar. I make myself laugh. I'm a riot. Anyway, after some talking, this genius right here, when they confirm that Vader's not there yet, he's still in transit, because apparently it takes Vader a long time to get from one spot to another, but who had a head start. Remember, Vader had a head start. He's obviously left the last planet they were on is already there. And who knows where you are? Because again, galaxy, time, passage, who cares? Locations, logistics, doesn't matter. You're going to beat Vader there, even though he's on his way there ahead of you. And again, this genius here, the dude right there whose name is Wade. Remember, Wade. He calls it Fortress Inquisitorius. I know. Fortress Inquisitorius. Who names these things? What are you, a 12-year-old? I mean, come on. Oh my goodness. Anywho, so they decide to leave on the shuttle because Tala, they hope that little Tala spy woman, her cover as an Imperial officer is still intact. Meanwhile, Leia is still being interrogated by Reva. And now here we're going to point out again, I'm going to say, the retardation of those involved with Disney Lucasfilm, Disney Star Wars. Remember, their whole thing is, you're going to learn Reva's story. Reva needs to be a role model for little women of color. And people need to see themselves in her. Okay, then do people really want to see themselves as a fascist torturing a little girl, interrogating a little 10-year-old girl ruthlessly at times, and it gets worse as the episode goes on? Is that really something people really want to see themselves as? I'm making a little girl feel sad and upset. Well, maybe not so sad and upset, because little girl Leia is she is a bulwark of resistance to everything Reva does. So Reva goes, Obi-Wan is dead. Remember, she actually says Obi-Wan is dead. So once again, to all you silly little stans who are trying to theory craft and headcanon your way through this so that it still makes sense when you pretend to watch A New Hope, because I doubt any of you actually have watched A New Hope at this point. When Leia does her "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope," which is a message of complete lack of emotion or lack of connection.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
There is no real connection. If there was connection, there would be, Obi-Wan, remember the time that we did this? I remember all this, and that happened, and I need your help again. No. In actual Star Wars canon, the lore, the New Hope, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi, I don't know you. I'm asking for help because my father told me about you. As opposed to this, where it's all fake. You can't rationalize your way where she had an adventure with Obi-Wan, then why is she so impersonal in The New Hope? You can't rationalize your way through this. You can't, because there's a distinct line of not actually happening. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Reva tells her Obi-Wan is dead, and she's trying to bully her, and where is the pathway? Because again, a 10-year-old girl is supposed to know the entire network of the Jedi Underground Railroad. Maybe not so smart, Reva. Maybe not so smart. The bullying goes on for a bit, and Leia just stands there. I will not do this. I will not do that. And then we cut away. So remember now, they've been in this room having this conversation for a while, which has now been enough time for Obi-Wan to not only heal in a Bacta tank instantaneously, apparently, have logistics planning conversation with people who don't matter, and then get on a transport with Tala Spy Lady and head off to Fortress Inquisitorius. And in transit, so I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So they're still talking in there, but all this other stuff has happened while they're just still in that room. Again, bad directing, bad conceptualization of the passage of time. Meanwhile, so Obi-Wan is now in transit, however long that's going to take. Apparently, again, instantaneous, and they will beat Vader there, who had a light years head start. Obi-Wan's practicing the Force. He's practicing the Force because suddenly maybe he can get it up halfway. I don't know, because he's trying to telekinesis a little bit of widget there, and then there's a conversation of, I have to do this, have to do that, and in just one line, Tala Spy Lady says, you have to get over the past. We can't easily get over it. Well, you have to. There's my encouragement, Obi-Wan. So there it was. It was only a sentence or two, but there was all the encouragement Obi-Wan needs to now suddenly be able to use the Force again. Because he's going to be using it. We're 4 episodes in, and he's finally really going to be using it, although it's really done poorly. Anyway, so Tala Spy Lady arrives at the fortress. Apparently, her Imperial credentials are still intact because she strides right in through everybody, looking nervous, frankly. Her poker face is terrible. Her poker face is horrific. She's like, I'm nervous, I'm nervous. And after a confrontation with a security officer who she then bullies around, which that's an acceptable thing. She's a higher ranking officer. She can bully somebody around and get through, claiming she has classified information for the Inquisitors. And then she makes her way to a communication place where she taps into their system. Now, remember, in this room, there are other people there. There are other people in this room moving around. While she is talking in very quiet tones to Obi-Wan to get him access. And Obi-Wan, who is now swimming underwater, I guess he jumped off the ship while they were in transit. I mean, all right, fine, whatever. Nobody noticed the ship pause for Obi-Wan to jump off and then swim underwater, and nobody working the sensors anywhere is tracking anything. I know, really. You gotta just don't think about it. Just consume. Just consume. Obi-Wan swims up and she unlocks a hatchway underwater, and he climbs up, and there's a stormtrooper who just outside the door who just happens to hear something, because you gotta have Obi-Wan interact with something. But then dumb Obi-Wan strikes again. He deals with the stormtrooper. Okay, if you're going to infiltrate someplace and maybe want to go undetected, what would be the first thing you would do if you encountered somebody with a costume that could completely hide your identity? Oh, I don't know. Maybe take the stormtrooper armor, put it on so you can walk freely and not get busted by the security droids roaming around. No, sorry. Just going to leave the stormtrooper floating in the water there, and I'm Obi-Wan in my rags, and I'm just going to march on in. Oh, but it gets worse. It gets worse, because now here comes some serious, stupid stuff with Leia and Reva.
Is this a stare contest?
If you've been wondering up until this point why Reva hadn't used her Force mind attack on little Leia yet, well, here it is. She's trying to do it. That's right, folks. The women of color role model whose story we have to hear and see, and Disney can't wait to tell us her story, is mentally assaulting a little 10-year-old girl. Yeah, she's mentally assaulting. You know the word I want to use, but I'm not going to use it because YouTube doesn't like it. She's mentally assaulting a little girl without provocation. No one's telling her she has to do it. She is choosing to do this on her own. Good job, Disney. Good job. Little girls everywhere, little women of color, want to see themselves as a dark Jedi, not a Sith, a dark Jedi fascist, mentally assaulting a little girl. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Everybody wants to be Reva. But thankfully, Leia is resisting because, of course, the 10-year-old girl, who Leia is Force sensitive. For those complaining, Leia's not Force sensitive. No, she is Force sensitive. She just shouldn't be active yet. It's another 10, 12 years before she's active Force force-wise. But she's resisting now, defiantly. Are we supposed to be having a staring contest? And Reva just pulls back because, of course, a fully trained Dark Jedi can't beat the mental defenses of a 10-year-old girl who's had 0 Force training. But Leia's better than Luke. Remember that. Then, for no reason whatsoever, Reva decides to go good cop mode because, okay, whatever. I'm a horrible character. And then for another reason that is completely why, Leia activates Lola in her pocket. And Lola just tries to shoot away for some reason. Of course, Reva's going to force grab her and pull her over, hold her in the palm of her hand. Now, remember this moment. Reva's going to have Lola in her hand for the next several cutscenes, because we're about to enter a series of bad editing cuts and direction where it's going to get very stupid. Really stupid. But just remember that for the rest of the interrogation scene, which has been going on forever, for hours apparently. Remember, time doesn't matter. They've been going at this for hours and Leia's just been holding her own. Just remember though, Reva's supposed to have Lola in her hand and Leia's supposed to be watching her with Lola in her hand the entire time. And then this is that right there where Reva and Leia are sitting on that bench there. That is as close as they get for the rest of the episode. Just remember that because Lola plays a really important role in this bad storytelling by the end of the episode. So meanwhile, Obi-Wan is busy creeping his way through with Tala on the other end of a communicator. But in the midst of the creeping, Tala gets distracted, pulled away by a superior officer who questions why is she there. She says, okay, I'll explain it to you. Let's go over here. Okay, fine. Obi-Wan is quickly asking her, Tala, where are you? Tala, where are you? As some stormtroopers suddenly come down the corridor, he goes into hiding. And now remember, there were other people in Tala's communications room. Other people were there. Behold, Tala is beating up the other officer behind something which is only a few feet away from the dude she was sitting next to and other people walking around in that room. How does nobody hear a fist fight, a physical confrontation going on just a few feet away? Is it really that silent? Because we can hear it. We hear the fisticuffs going on. We hear the struggle. But no, everybody else in the room is oblivious to what's going on. Good job, Joby Harold, you goddamn hack. So Tala wins her fisticuffs. And then, we know what happens when somebody suddenly goes back on a communicator. Oh, maybe we did actually watch a scene from an actual Star Wars movie where somebody goes, Ben, Benny there. Oh, the communicator is too loud. And the stormtroopers who were in the hallway hear it. So Obi-Wan does a good old-fashioned force trick, which he struggles to do, but he gets it done. And they go wander off, and then he's able to move on. All right, now cut back to it. So during this whole thing was cut back, cut. Nobody was wiser to Tala beating up a dude just 5 feet away. Maybe 10 feet, but still close enough they should have heard it. Now back to Reva and Leia. Still in the interrogation room. Reva, notice she's sitting right next to Leia. Remember that. Trying to tell her, basically, it's just this long, drawn-out thing of only you can help yourself. Now, again, look at this scene. Now, watch this scene here and look at the edit moment at the very end there. Watch where Reva is during the conversation and then watch that final moment.
I know what it's like being alone. Kenobi is gone. The people you're trying to protect, they are not coming for you.
Look at that little clip closely. Notice when they're sitting next to each other in the long shot, Reva is not leaning in. Their heads are not close to one another. But then at the very last second of that clip, suddenly Reva is inches away from Leia's head with Moses Ingram giving her award-winning delivery. No one's coming to get you. She's so bad. Terrible actress. But notice that edit. Okay, bad editing. Deborah Chow, you're a horrible director. You are trash. You aren't good at your job. You should have no control over any camera on any franchise. But it gets worse. Just remember again, they're sitting here close to one another. While Reva's playing good cop and Leia's pretending to be sad, this story falls apart. Because again, remember, notice the whole time, Reva has Lola in her hands. Remember this. Because while she's playing good cop with Lola in one hand, we haven't seen her even doing anything to Lola. She's just been holding Lola in her hands. With Leia looking at her basically the whole time. It's not like Leia turned her back on her at all. So while the grown whammon woman is basically still being a bully to a little whammon, good role model, Leia looks at her and turns the tables. That's right. The 10-year-old girl turns the tables in the middle of Reva's good cop act saying, you can only help yourself. We're all on the same side here. Help me. These people are bad. Leia says, oh, okay. I'll help you. I'll tell you where they are. But let me talk to my father first, because we're all on the same side, right? And then Reva's like, I might want to hit you, but I'm not gonna. Take her away. We're going to do this the hard way. Now, remember, look at that scene right there. Where is Lola? Lola, second before, was there in her hands. Lola is now gone. Did you see her do anything remotely close to Leia in that moment as the stormtroopers pick her up? And no stands. You cannot say she forced it in there. You didn't hear the Force sound that they love to use. No sound of the Force use. No, there was no Force use. There was no sleight of hand. Just remember that. Where did Lola go? Where did Lola go? Because Reva, this was the last time she got close to Leia. Because now she's going to physically torture Leia. Yes, now it's time for the whammon of color, who's supposed to be the role model so little girls of color can see themselves in her, because people need to see themselves in characters in order to relate. She's going to now physically torture. We're past the mental torture. We're past the mental attacks, the bullying, the mental manipulation. No, now we're going on to the full-on hardcore torture session, as the screaming little girl is now strapped to a table where Reva is going to do horrible things to her.
You are gonna tell me what I want to know.
What are you doing to me?
The same thing I do to anyone who doesn't embrace the Empire.
You're gonna tell me. You're gonna tell me that this is good dialogue, that this is good writing, that that's good high caliber acting? No! This is trash. From the writing, to the acting, to the directing. It's all trash because Disney Star Wars is trash. But it only gets stupider from this point on. Because while Leia is screaming her head off, somebody help me, somebody help me, Obi-Wan is aimlessly wandering around corridors somewhere nearby, while Spy Whammon Talis asks him, Ben, what have you found? I've discovered what they're doing here for real. This place isn't a prison or a base. It's a tomb. Behold. We now know what they're doing, what Disney Star Wars does with all the apparently dozens and hundreds of Force sensitives that managed to escape Order 66. Wow, so many. They're frozen in amber after they've been killed. Okay, that's a thing now. I don't know. I've never seen this in Star Wars before. But we go through a whole litany of frozen Force users, Padawans to Jedis to maybe random Force sensitives that have been taken, frozen in this amber, until we finally get to one last one that I think pushes Obi-Wan over the edge and allows him to be himself again. I don't know. Look at this image. The youngling in the amber. And I'm laughing not because it's a youngling in an amber, but because why is the youngling frozen in amber still wearing the blind helmet that they would wear when they're just training for lightsaber practice? Why is he wearing that helmet while frozen in the amber? Because they watched a clip from Revenge of the Sith and thought that younglings all wear that's something that they're all constantly wearing? No, that's a blinder helmet, so they can block out what their lying eyes are tell them and let the Force guide them to block blaster bolts. It's part of training. Why is he wearing the helmet in the amber? Why? I don't know. Because they don't know. Because they don't know Star Wars. Joby Harold is a moron. And Deborah Chow is a bigger moron for letting this be on camera. This is stupid. These people don't understand Star Wars. It's a classic example of, I saw it on the movie screen, so I'm putting it here. That because the movie screen makes it legitimate, not understanding the concept of what they're actually looking at. Again, that is a blinder helmet that a youngling would use during lightsaber practice so they can sense things through the Force and not let their eyes deceive them. Oh my God, it's so stupid. Now, Obi-Wan's not going to get there in time to save Screaming Leia. So Spywam Tala decides to act on her own and create a situation that summons Reva away. So Reva gets summoned to the Inquisitor Chamber. We get a really dumb confrontation between Spywam Tala and Reva about why Spywam Tala's like, I have information. I know where the path is, and I was undercover. And Reva's like, I don't believe you at all. And why don't you just force rip it out of her mind? You've shown you can do it in a couple of seconds, unless you're dealing with a 10-year-old girl who has no Force training whatsoever. Ha! Reasons. Just consume, don't think. Obi-Wan makes it to the interrogation chamber. The lights go out, and you see a nice little impressive scene of a lightsaber going on in the dark. He cuts down the stormtroopers in a couple of seconds and then rescues Leia. They're reunited. But oh, now the cringe will just get worse, because now we get Disney version of Obi-Wan trying to use his Jedi Knight training once again. That's right, chase scene where Obi-Wan is protecting Leia. He's got his lightsaber out. Great job, Obi-Wan. Although he's going to use it very awkwardly. Behold this scene. That is just a taste of how awkward Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan looks as he's defending Leia through the halls while troopers are shooting at him. Notice in that one moment there where he's deflecting those bolts at that trooper, he's just holding the lightsaber in one place. And the trooper, for at least 2 to 3 shots, right in the same place, nothing at all otherwise weaving or anything. That's kind of what the whole thing is, and it looks stupid. And you notice in that scene, oh, this is for the stands. Look, Ewan McGregor did his Obi-Wan twirl. He did his flourish. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? No, it's not great, because the whole thing is awkward and stupid. Ewan McGregor doesn't look graceful as all. And oh no, that's because he hasn't had practice. You just make it worse when you try and use that argument, Stans. You just make it worse. This is a Jedi Master who should have been continuing to hone and practice his craft while meditating and studying in isolation instead of being a fish butcher. This chasing goes on. You see, right as it starts, Spywam Tala manages to overcome the 2 stormtroopers that Reva left in charge to hold her while she goes to try and get Obi-Wan. And she is now free to roam. She's trying to look for them, and she's going to catch up, because then while Obi-Wan is busy deflecting bolts, remember, we're underwater here. So it actually does make sense for a moment that one randomly deflected bolt would hit the glass. Now, logic again. Let's assert some logic here. This is a highly advanced science fiction society. Can clearly build underwater facilities without a problem. That glass can handle the pressure of the ocean. But it can't handle a blaster bolt reflecting off it. I know. Don't think, just consume. Because a random blaster bolt cracked the glass and the pressure is now pushing in on it. And in a moment of, I guess, fabricated coolness, Obi-Wan is holding with the Force. He's holding the water back in the glass while deflecting bolts. And here comes Spywam Tala to get Leia out of harm's way. And then Obi-Wan, realizing that they're once safe and sound about farther down the corridor, then he lets it go, and he shatters 2 more windows, and all the water comes rushing in. Hurry, Ben, hurry! How did he outrun that? Seriously, how did he outrun that water? We didn't see him use any sort of force speed. He's just regular old Obi-Wan jogging along ahead of that water, which should have swept his ass up. Should have swept his ass up. No problem whatsoever. But no, Disney Star Wars, don't think, just consume. Well, now they are momentarily safe behind a closed door, which is also going to be leaking water. And Spy Woman Tala says, here, take this. She's got an officer hat and a long coat. That's his disguise. Because now they're going to traipse through the hangar bay with Leia under the jacket next to Obi-Wan walking in. No, that doesn't look awkward and strange at all. No, not at all. Because very soon, here comes Reva and her squad. This is the clip we saw from the trailer, and I fully admit that I questioned this in the trailer. Why is she walking in the saber? Well, now we know why she's walking through the hangar with her saber ignited, because she's caught up to Obi-Wan and Tala Spy Women and little girl Leia, who now are surrounded completely. There's no way out. Oh, but there is. Speeders to save the day! Speeders zoom in at very clearly high speed, shooting up the place. All right, I can sort of buy that in the last second, but then look at this, all right? Look at this shot here from this screen cap. At the speed they're going, how do they have enough time or physical ability to turn away from crashing into that wall? Don't think, just consume. Don't think, just be amazed that the speeders are there at the last second to save Obi-Wan, little girl Leia, and Spy Tala Women. Don't think at all, and it gets worse as they're shooting everything up. First, you have Obi-Wan not using his lightsaber to defend Leia. He's just busy shooting a blaster off. Forget that. But then at one point, as they're escaping, one of the Imperials are just, they're scattered. Oh no, what are we going to do? It's chaos. One of the speeders manages to land. How the other one is busy doing this cover fire in this hangar bay at a speed and this and that. He must be a master pilot using the repulsor technology to just kind of weave around gracefully and hover and this and that. Obi-Wan, Spy Women Tala, little girl Leia, they all get on one speeder piloted by the women. And she starts to get away. And meanwhile, the other guy, Wade, remember, he's got a name, so we're supposed to care about him. Wade, who gave us the brilliant phrase, Fortress Inquisitorius. He's busy shooting at Reva and the other Inquisitors who arrived during this whole melee. First of all, Reva, those are weapons capable of, depending on the angle, doing damage to an AT-AT, as we see in The Empire Strikes Back. Reva is deflecting that very powerful cannon with her lightsaber. But Adam, in the comic Dark Empire, Luke deflected AT-AT blaster bolts. Yeah, it's a comic, and it's a little over the top. And maybe Luke was actually using the Force in that moment. We don't know. It's just an image. You have to kind of infer. It looks like Luke has the Force enveloped around him. Reva is clearly just batting those blasts aside from a ship, a scout, a very large caliber blaster cannon with just her lightsaber. But she's Reva. She's awesome. All right, now here's where it gets even worse. So the speeder holding our Obi-Wan group starts to get away, and Wade is going to run cover. And as he's running cover, he's like, okay, great. Well, watch what happens next. These people do not understand Star Wars. They don't understand how the Force works. They don't understand basic physics.
Destroy them!
All right, right behind you.
How does Reva have enough time and physics to kinetically throw whatever she threw into Wade's speeder with enough force and damage potential to blow him up? Because that speeder was probably gunning it to get out of there. The Force doesn't work like that. You can't just simply throw something instantly. It still has to follow the laws of physics. Build enough kinetic energy to be thrown at something and then and travel. No, it doesn't work like that. But it's all done to, one, show how awesome Reva is, and two, to make us feel something for a character we just met who uttered all of maybe 4 lines in this entire show. Because he had a name. He's Wade, and we're supposed to feel sad for him that he's dead now. That he sacrificed himself. Because he's one of the only characters in this show that doesn't have plot armor. So stupid, but it only gets worse. We are now coming up to the piece de resistance of this entire shit show. Obi-Wan and his crew get away. They get scooped up by a ship. The speeder lands on. Everybody gets off. You get that clip that I showed you at the very beginning of the video of how everybody's sad that, where's Wade? Oh, no, he's the other way. And they're all sad. Meanwhile, boom, here comes Vader. Out of nowhere, Vader finally arrives. Vader, boy, it took him a long time to get here. Vader comes storming in for the first time, does something actually Vader-esque. Vader doesn't tolerate failure. He storms in, force lifts Reva and starts to force choke her at the same time, which is something Vader would do. I don't know about the force lift. I think the force lift was a little over the top. The force choke would have been enough. But now she's struggling. You failed me, blah, blah, blah. Again, James Earl Jones does the best he can. I believe, who knows who's in the suit? There's 3 people apparently in the suit. Who knows? And we'll talk about that another time, about people in the suit. He's demanding her to explain herself, and Reva manages to choke out, I put a tracker on the ship. Well, first you're asking yourself, okay, how? She was never near the ship. Those speeders came out of nowhere. They didn't take the shuttle they came in on. How did she do it? Vader praises her that now they'll be able to track the wherever it goes. And, oh, look, we're using a Star Wars trope. Congratulations, you're using an old Star Wars gag of tracker on a ship to track them wherever they go. Good job. Now we cut back to the ship, and Obi-Wan and Leia are having a nice, quiet, non-verbal moment of, look how strong their connection is. They're so connected now. More so than Luke and Obi-Wan are. And then you slowly drift over to Leia's jacket that she was wearing the whole time. And in the pocket, oh, look, there's Lola. Except Lola's blue sensor is now red, because Lola is now a tracking device they're using. End episode. Behold. Remember I said earlier in the video to remember the interrogation room scene concerning Lola. I've already explained to you, where did Lola go? Well, Lola somehow magically ended up in Leia's pocket as the stormtroopers picked her up. But we never saw Reva put Lola anywhere. Lola was in her hand right up until the stormtroopers pick up Leia. Never again is Reva close enough to Leia to drop Lola in her pocket. Never. Never happens. This doesn't make any sense. That's why the whole premise of today's review is none of this makes any sense when you think about it. I've given you the breakdown. Doesn't make any sense. How did she do it? In the melee, she forced it into her jacket? No, she was moving. Never saw it happen. Leia never took her eyes off her the entire time in the interrogation room, which also brings to the point, when did Reva turn Lola into a tracking device? When did she do that? She was just holding it and fiddling with her fingers. She didn't plant anything. She didn't use any tools. Suddenly, Lola's a tracking device. How? Please explain to me how. You can't. Because it never happened on the screen. It never even hinted at happening on the screen. You can't say she did it off camera because she was never alone with Lola. She was never close enough to put it back into Leia's jacket because when she enters the interrogation room, there's a good 10 yards between them. And you never see her go near her while she's screaming about you have to suffer for not working with the Empire. Never happened. Explain this away, Stans. This is a logical impossibility. Doesn't happen. But suddenly Lola has been transferred into a tracking device, and now they're going to track everybody to wherever they end up, and I wouldn't be surprised if we end up at Tatooine at some point, because we only got 2 episodes left, folks. Thank God.
You're certain the tracker is with him?
Yes, my lord. Where he goes, it will follow.
Unfortunately, we also are going wherever it will lead us, because I am here for the duration, because I promised I would watch this so you didn't have to. Obi-Wan Kenobi is a monstrosity, an atrocity, an abomination, a vast deviation from actual Star Wars, because you can see they don't care about canon, they don't care about lore, they don't even care about the logical foundation of their own goddamn show. How did Reva turn Lola into a tracking device? We never saw her do it. Never even implied she did it. How did she get it back in Leia's jacket once it happened? Why does a Padawan youngling still have a shield visor on their head when they're in the frozen amber? How does nobody track or even hear Spy Wham and Tala beating the crap out of a dude in a small enclosed communications room when there's not a lot of sound going on? Would have been heard. And even in a later cap, he's not even there on the ground anymore. How? Why? You can ask it throughout this whole episode. Again, I told you the outrage wasn't, I'm outraged because they're killing Star Wars. It was on Lola of, how is any of this happening? And doesn't make any sense. The show has no concept of time. How did Vader not get there before them? Why did he finally arrive after everything happened? Reasons. Because Vader, we can't have Vader there till it's time for a lightsaber duel. Or unless we need him to mindlessly be mean in the middle of a village. This show makes no sense. Disney Star Wars is trash. Real Star Wars, nowhere to be found here. These are characters in name only. And it's only probably going to get worse. Like I said, we got 2 episodes to go. I won't be surprised if the next episode is just filler with 1 to go, with a penultimate episode being a pure setup for trash for the final episode, where Reva will likely have a heroic moment, even though she's done nothing but be evil and have no actual sympathetic story tone related to her. She has been horrible. She tortured a little girl for this entire episode. No redeeming factors about Reva, yet suddenly in the remaining 2 episodes, we're gonna supposed to have a face turn and be connected to her and have her do the heroic things Obi-Wan can't seem to do. All right, guys. That's it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, hit the like button, share it around, leave real comments. The stands are going to come in here. I need you guys to push back when they do. And I will see you next week for episode 5. May the Force be with you and may it be with me as I struggle forward with this hot garbage. Good night, everybody. Take it easy. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you want to get in touch with me, you can reach out to me at therentnerd@gmail.com. That email's for channel business only, so I check it on a daily basis. Also, you can find me at the Geeks and Gamers forums under @ROAS, and you can find me at Rumble and Odyssey, The Renaissance Nerd. Thank you again. See you next time.